Hi guys, Jared here with Day Traders FX. I hope you guys are having a great week. We have certainly had a pretty fantastic week so far, and we've got some more good setups in the works. So let's look at them. Let's kind of see what are the next legs of movement we should be watching for. So far, just a quick little look at the U.S. markets. You can see that the Dow's down a little bit, S&P's down a little bit, oil's up. We're kind of having one of those interesting days. Commodities are higher. Gold's definitely pushing up there a bit. Oil's up, and the rest of the equities are down. As far as news goes, remember today we have a couple of things in the works, such as we have interest rate announcements out of New Zealand, which are coming out later on today, which will get the New Zealand dollar moving a good bit. I don't trade the New Zealand dollar too often, so I really don't even have any idea what's going on the setups there. But we do trade the Aussie dollar and the Aussie yen pairs quite often, and you can see that we have employment numbers coming out of Australia later on tonight. So that's going to be that's going to be a pretty big deal, so keep an eye on that. Coming into tomorrow, we have a little bit of U.S. news. We haven't had any U.S. news really thus far, which has been okay. We've had some great trades, but we have some good stuff tomorrow, retail sales and unemployment claims, so keep an eye out for that tomorrow morning. Of course, we'll have a live session for that anyway, so we'll already be here. Euro dollar has kind of just been chopping around. It's rallying nicely, but I just don't feel like it's giving me any really great signals to enter on. So it has pushed higher again today, and it's just kind of still in this channel. And we still have a missed weekly pivot, which I think will be a good target for the downside movement. When and if it starts to break lower and recovers a bit to the downside. Retail traders appear to still be more short than long on the pair, so it could be headed, unfortunately for the retail crowd, a bit higher. But I'm just not looking at anything too much on the euro dollar for the moment. I trade the pair quite extensively, and for some reason it just doesn't look that awesome to me, so I'm not doing too much with it right this moment. The pound dollar, on the other hand, is continuing to be semi-interesting in a couple of different areas here. Number one, we have a missed weekly pivot. We have a missed daily pivot back here. And this thing has literally been crawling up this channel. It's just been staying on the bottom side of this channel pretty much the entire time. We had this one spike up to the top, and then it's just kind of continued to stay on that lower area. If we kind of just extend this channel up, you can see that a little bit better, but it's just really staying in the lower portion of the channel. We had some nice breakouts and movements and so on, and now it seems to be topping out at the high from last Thursday, so which also happened to be last week's highs. It's topping out there. We've got a couple little reversal candles. We had a big one right here that didn't cause too much reversal, and then we've got another little small one right here at resistance. So we're kind of double topping at least, and whether we're going to have much of a trade off that or not will be yet to be seen. A couple of things to keep an eye on. Remember, retail crowds are a little less short pound dollar, but it's almost a balance on the pound dollar. Euro dollar, they're quite short. A couple of things that I would be looking at is, choppy and crazy as it looks, is like a shorter term trend line break, something on like a 15-minute chart. You can see that this thing's really been kind of running up this level. We have a missed daily pivot from today as well, which makes for a nice little target. So some sort of little short-term trend line like this. I'm going to get rid of the channel just for a moment so we can see that a little bit better. A short-term trend line like that looks like a pretty interesting little breakout, number one. Number two, that missed daily pivot. And number three, we've also just dipped below the 23% fib, and we're back up making this run again. So we still have a pretty good reason to believe that the pound dollar should run down towards at least 155.50 area, if not a little bit more, but I think on the low end we should have a 100 pip run down at some point in the nearer future on the pound dollar. So watch for this breakout, look to target the missed daily pivot, and let's see if we can get back down to this missed weekly pivot, which I think we might be able to. So I actually kind of like trading against this high right now with stops just up above here. Really tight stops. I think the risk reward's good, but let's just be really cautious and careful on this type of a movement. One thing that I'm looking at here, talked about this a little bit yesterday and sent out some charts and so on. The Aussie dollar is really rallying off this low right here. We have this fantastic pin bar on the daily and weekly charts. I think we're going to have a very strong close on the Aussie dollar. It's finally recovering, which we ultimately do expect and did expect. I'd like to see the Aussie dollar. We had a pending order on this last night, and it just missed us by literally a couple of pips. I'm picking this up on the buy down here, and it rallied up. I'm looking for the Aussie dollar to still get a little bit closer to around 9,400. I want to see it get down about 100 pips. I think we're going to see things a little bit choppy. We've got a little bit of an inverted head and shoulders pattern in the works here. Not a great looking one, but good enough one that I think it should get the pair moving. So again, I'm not going to do too much on this pair now until we get back closer to 9,400 and potentially even 9,450 area. That's kind of my hot zone to start looking to buy the Aussie dollar, 9,400 to 9,450. It doesn't give us too terribly much to jump into just yet, though. This will be a good trade to scale into, go in small and continue to add and add and add to positions until this gets up into the 9,700 area, which I think it'll probably pretty easily get to sooner than later. So that's what we're looking for in the Aussie dollar. So again, it needs to retrace anywhere, you know, from 100-ish pips, give or take. And I'll be looking to jump into that, but I just don't have too much of an entry that I'm excited about just yet. Yen pairs have been pretty good for us. The one thing that I'm still looking on the yen pair, we took a short on the euro yen, and the movement down played out nicely. We ended up getting out a little bit early. But it did make a nice little run down, a bit of a choppy one, but a nice one indeed. It's staying, we've got a little bit of a double bottom right here, which is good, and the reason I like this, and I think it's interesting, is because if we look once again at the daily chart, we have this big hammer right here on this daily that is probably going to be able to hold pretty well. We have a big intimidating bearish candle right here, but this hammer, I'm still looking at it to hold. I'm still looking for the euro yen to stay above 126.15, and I'm looking, interestingly enough, for opportunities to buy into the pair. I feel like it's a little bit controversial right now, but I think that we'll have a good opportunity to buy into the euro yen against this level. Now, what I'm looking for on the entry side of things is, you know, one thing that we could start off with is an entry against these lows right here, because we have a nice double bottom. We have today's low and yesterday's low. Seems to be holding pretty well. Very nice little double bottom there, so that would be a good level to start trading against. So we're at 127, about 75 or so, and our low down here is basically 12700, 127.05. So I'd be looking for just a little bit of pullback, a little bit of retracement here, get in against this level, and get long in this pair. Let's trade this up, you know, at least 100 pips, but you know, shorter term towards the high of today and you know, the high of this week so far. I think there's some really good stuff in the works on this euro yen. So that's what I'm looking for, and basically the exact same thing on the pound yen. I can't hardly tell the difference between the two of them. Nice little breakout, that played out nicely, and now it's double bottomed as well. So I think there's a good opportunity. You know, again, keep your stops tight on both of these, because I'm looking for this little double bottom to hold right here, and if it does, I think we're going to end up with a nice trend line break from this bigger descending trend line right here, and runs towards the daily high and even potentially the weekly high. And again, I'm trading largely in part off of some of the support we see down here and this major price projection on the daily and weekly candles. So, but again, on both euro yen and pound yen, you know, let these things retrace. Get into them more around, you know, have 30 pip stops instead of 50 or 60 pip stops, because they're still in a little bit of a volatile, risky area. So we want to make sure that we're getting in close to that double bottom, close to that area, and we can keep those stops tight. That's what I'm looking for right now, and I think we will have some nice playouts. Again, pound dollar looks like a possible interesting trade against those highs with a trendline break to the downside. Euro yen and pound yen look pretty good against that double bottom. And Aussie yen's actually looking pretty good as well. I kind of like this Aussie yen. One interesting thing about this is from this big run up, from the low to the high here of the last several months, it has retraced perfectly and touched to the pip the 50% retracement of this larger move. So it might be ready to bounce off that just a little bit. So watch for opportunities to get long against the low on this Aussie yen as well. I think there's going to be some good opportunities there. So that's kind of where I'm headed, and I'll have more details coming out on Twitter and more to come in the daily wrap-up session this afternoon. Thanks a bunch, everybody, and I'll see you in the chat.